Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar R Espino. Hey, welcome back. It is your friend Cesar Espino. You can find me at www.cesarrespino.com. And today I have a special guest. Her name is Milana Istakhorova.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So for our listeners, let me give you a little bit of her background so you can get to know her, and then we can dive into this interview. So Milana is the founder and CEO of More Than Fitness, a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. She studied psychology during her undergraduate and graduate careers until she decided to pursue a career in fitness. She entered the industry as a kickboxing instructor and worked her way up to manager of the facility. She then began working as a personal trainer in a large corporation gym. In her first full year, ranked as the number 6 trainer in the entire company, but soon found herself limited by the confines of bureaucracy in the corporate world. Milana coaches her clients into creating deep, sustainable change throughout all aspects of their lives via fitness and lifestyle coaching. She emphasizes the importance of mindfulness, mind-body connection, community, nutrition, and play as an integral part of not just fitness, but life as a whole. Hence, More Than Fitness. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is pretty awesome. Well, the first thing I want to ask you is, first, how are you doing? How's everything with you today?
It's good. Yeah, it's super early in the morning, and so it's been a good day so far.
No, that's awesome. So the people that are listening to us, we're both kind of in California, in different parts of California, but California, so it's a little bit early here. And that's not as early as the people in the East Coast, but it's okay. So the first thing that I want to ask you is, what is your background? Were you born in the States, or did you come from someplace else? Let us know more about that.
Yeah, so I was born in Russia, like in South Russia.
Okay.
And my family left actually the year I was born. We came as refugees, actually. We went through Austria and Italy. It took us 6 months, and we landed in New York City. And so that's where I grew up. So we left when I was 6 months. We arrived in New York when I was 11 months old.
Wow.
I was almost a full year.
Yeah.
And then I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and I moved out here to California almost 7 years ago. So.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just out of curiosity. Is it New York like an entry point from people that come from Russia? Because I know a lot of people that have come to the States from Russia, and they normally go to New York.
Yeah, I want to say New York's a pretty central point for many immigrants, but definitely for sure. So, like I said, we did come as refugees, and so the organization that brought us there, it was for Russian Jews.
Got you.
It took people to either Israel or into New York, and so we chose.
Wow.
Well, my family chose New York. I was too little to choose.
Yeah, you're like, got you. All right. And so you've been here 7 years in California now.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. What was the change? Any particular reason why you changed from New York to California?
Honestly, so I had just finished my undergraduate education. I was working full time, but just doing administrative work.
Mm-hmm.
And I was ready to go to graduate school, and my sister actually got married and moved out here nearby where I live. So I would come visit, and then you come from like the gray concrete jungle of Brooklyn, New York into wherever my sister lives. It was like 76 degrees in January. It was just beautiful everywhere. I was like, what is this magical wonderland? So I moved within a couple of years. I was like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, that's good. So let me ask you this. how did you go from psychology? I mean, first you were trying to pursue psychology, so maybe let's talk about that first. What was in your, what were you thinking, and why you wanted to get into that industry?
Yeah, so I'm not actually sure when I decided or why I decided psychology in the first place, but I remember being 13 years old, knowing that that was the field I was going to work in.
Got it.
And then as a young teen, I started working with like therapists. I had a bunch of mental health challenges and struggles that I went through. And I was in therapy, I want to say from like 15 to 21 and even
Wow.
beyond, like on and off,
Right.
And I just fell in love with my therapist, probably, right? Like she helped me change my life. Like I was depressed, I was miserable, and I came out on the other side, right? And then I took my first class in college was Intro to Psychology, so like 101. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. It's fascinating. I was just lit up. And so then I went on and took every single psychology course offered.
Yeah.
I'm just fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by studying why we become the way we are today and like what parts of our life have impacted us in what ways. And then how do you grow beyond that, right? Because that's what therapy is. That's what personal development work is. It's doing all that psychological, like the cognitive, emotional work to go from wherever you were to wherever you want to be. And it's the most fascinating thing to me.
Got it. And something came to mind. So let me ask you this, and I don't know if this was a big, change in your life. Although you came here at 11 months, right? You're essentially an immigrant. So did that play any role in your life growing up with, the kids, or, the society? Was that, a negative or positive impact to your life?
Yeah. So I appreciate that question, actually. So I did grow up around a lot of other immigrants, right?
Okay.
Specifically from Russia. And so there was a little community that we, lived in. And the older I got, the more you could call it Americanized I became, right?
Got it.
So there became this like bicultural sort of struggle of I wasn't American enough for the Russian community and I was too Russian for the American community. And I didn't quite fit like a particular mold. And then also beyond that, I'm a little eccentric. Like I have tattoos, I like piercings, I like things. And so I wore a lot of black and I listened to Christian music, right? So there was a lot of things sort of involved in that. Yeah, it definitely played a role. Like I remember, if I may for a second, I was at a UPS store when I was 18 years old in my neighborhood, and a woman was trying to send something to somewhere without an address. Anyway, I was like, I don't know where you want me to send this. And she basically cursed me out in Russian, saying I was a half Russian bee. And I was like, oh, cool, thanks.
Wow.
So yeah, it was kind of a big deal.
Yeah, no, I bet. Yeah, and the only reason why I asked that is because, I was born in Mexico City. Mm-hmm. Or Mexico. And for me, it was also a little bit difficult to get adjusted to. I actually came here when I was 10, so I was a little bit older than you. Except coming into the States, it was a little bit difficult to get, accepted by the society, by the different people, by the different cultures, not being able to communicate, at least for me, right? I was not able to communicate at that point. I don't even know how to speak or read English. And so that was difficult for me to do. And, there's a lot of people that throughout their early ages in life, especially if they're immigrants, they don't fit into the society. And so sometimes it's good to, I want our listeners to understand, what are some of the things that you do to be able to, grow out of that and accept the fact that, maybe other people may not accept you. You have to accept yourself for who you are, right? And then from there, just grow from that perspective. And so, was there anything in particular that you maybe did, being the fact that you were like in that mix, you like couldn't get accepted here or there? Like, were there any things you might have done that can help our listeners?
I have to say that, in fact, that's something that I struggled with up until recently, probably until a year or so ago, even still, the same polarizing. I want to say the only thing I did was decide that I'm amazing. Like, awesome. I decided that I'm wonderful, and if that is a problem for somebody, the fact that I'm half Russian, as they might say, then you're not my person. We're not meant to be friends, and that's okay. I want to say that's really all I can do, because I can't change somebody else's mind.
Right.
I can change the way I perceive and the way I, carry myself around those situations. And so that's what I did.
No, that's awesome. And I love that, because again, a lot of times we are people, as individuals, we tend to be looking for that validation or somebody to tell us that we're amazing. Yeah, like you said, just tell yourself you're amazing and believe that and have faith that you are. And that's really what all counts. You don't need somebody else's validation. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So then from psychology to fitness, how did that happen?
Well, crazy story. No. I had about midway through it was a 5-year graduate school program. So in year 3, I had some crazy life changes go on, and I needed to get a little part-time job just for some extra cash. So I ended up working at a kickboxing studio. I was a member. I was working out there, and I was like, hey, like, what if I wanted to work here? And he was like, well, what if you applied? I'm like, cool. So I obviously got the job. And I was really nervous because I was very much, I still am a little bit, an introvert. And so there in that particular gym, you have to be able to work with the entire, like everyone, it's a big group, right? So there could be up to 20 people in the room. And so I have to be able to navigate all those people and just learn how to maneuver myself. And also I was working out myself, and I was in fitness for myself, but I didn't have a lot of education in terms of, being a trainer or how to teach people how to do things. So that was something I had to learn on the job while I went. But I was fully convinced when I first started that the only thing I was ever going to be good at was psychology, because I was so good at it. And so as I started, working in fitness, I was like, actually, I'm pretty good at this. I'm a really positive person. I'm really encouraging and motivating. I'm also like 5 years old sometimes. And so when the music, like the beat drops and I'm over there, like jumping around dancing, and I found myself getting really curious about the body, and sort of the connection between the mind and the body as well, because of course I can't turn off the psychologist in me.
Right.
And so I started researching things just on my own time, like, what about if my client's knee hurts, or like, how do I deal with this hip thing, or, there's a back issue. What are modifications I can provide for people? And the more research I did, the more the distance I felt from psychology. So, eventually I got my certification and moved on, but that was really my end, was just this spark of like fascination with fitness. Got it.
And one thing that I going through your stuff, I realized that, not only did you make that shift, going from psychology to fitness, but you believe that, one thing that you mentioned is that, fitness is more than just exercise, simple exercise or eating well, right? A lot of people perceive, fitness as, let me work out, let me do this, let me do that. But you take that a little bit further. So can you explain more on that from your perspective?
Yeah. So I believe that fitness has the power to transform your entire life, not just your body. I believe that first because that's what it did for me. I was really overweight, and I started exercising and just eating well, right? So like dieting. I changed my body, and then I gained all the weight back, and then I lost it and I gained the weight back. So there was this big yo-yo, which is very common, right? In people's pursuit of fitness. And it wasn't until I started changing the mindset around fitness and movement and nutrition. And so it went from, how heavy can I lift this, or how big can I get my biceps, to how well can I move? How good can I feel during any particular exercise? How good can I feel when I'm at home sitting on the couch watching TV? Like, how can I not hurt, right? How do I build this confidence in myself? And it's through fitness, right? So yes, weight loss definitely plays a role in our confidence because of the society and the culture that we live in. And it's beyond that. It's this amazing sense of power of, I did this. I put all of the motion, like all the pieces together. I put the wheels into motion. I made this happen for myself. And there is almost nothing quite as empowering as taking ownership of your body and of your time and space and energy. it's just that powerful. And I very much, I coach breathing. So every single session that I start with my clients, we breathe for 60 seconds. We connect in with the body. I believe that every exercise should be a connection with the body rather than like a mindless, oh, let me just get the reps in and move on with my life.
Right. Wow. I like that. That's definitely a different way, to put that into practice. Normally when I've gone to places like whether it's a gym or something like that, it's like you jump into like the exercise or just working whatever body part you're going to be working on, but you're actually taking it toward where you're actually connecting and bringing it, like you said, that psychology mentality into this. And so let me ask you this. So, before, as you were going through your journey and like you said, you were going through those shifts of gaining the weight, losing it and all that stuff, were there any particular habits that you were doing every day to put you in the right state of mind?
Yes. Yes, there were a few. I want to say it might sound cliche, but I was meditating.
Okay. Yep.
I would sit down with my cup of coffee and my phone. I would like flip it upside down. I would turn meditation music on and I would sit for 20 minutes. Now I didn't sit and like, right. I didn't like, think about it. I just sat still. And for me, that was a lot because I'm a very active person. I shift in my seat a million times anyway. So just sitting still was a big deal for me. Because that helped me connect in with my body. The other thing, also mindset stuff, being like, yeah, I'm allowed to eat a donut. I'm allowed to eat this, and I'm allowed to eat vegetables. Just constantly having conversations with myself about giving myself permission to just be a person. So, and then of course, yes, making the choices to eat more vegetables and eat less pizza, making the choice to go to the gym even when I was tired, I was exhausted. Because sometimes you gotta, right? Because if you let go, it becomes hard to come back.
Right.
For many of us. But even if when you're tired, you go to the gym and you just move a little, right? Like maybe you get there and you roll around, like you foam roll, you stretch, you do a super light workout, and then you go home. You have re-energized yourself versus staying home on the couch and being like, oh, I'm so tired. And then getting into your head about what that might mean about you.
Right. Yeah. So the one thing that you mentioned, and I think is critical for many of us, is that, giving yourself permission, like you said, giving yourself permission that you can have, maybe a donut or having, like you said, any of that stuff. That's critical because, again, a lot of times, even with anything in life, like anything that we do in life, sometimes, if you're someone that is in sales and you need to make those calls, you got to give yourself permission that you might fail at that 1 or 2 or 3 calls, yet still do it, right? Or so that's one. The other part of that is in your case when we're talking about having the donor or having this and that, be conscious and mindful of that and don't overdo it. Like know what you're doing. Right. And then once you accept all that stuff, it's like, okay, I know I'm going to have a donut or I'm going to have a slice of pizza. Yet that's all I'm having. Like know your limits. Right. I think that's critical in this journey. Right.
Yeah, definitely think so. I think there comes times in our life too, when like I had a client recently, she was running around with her kids, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I had pizza. And I'm like, that's okay. Did you have 17 slices of pizza? No, you ate your dinner and you moved on with your life. And there we are. This is not necessarily scientific fact, but I will always tell my clients that the stress you have around eating the food that you eat is going to make you gain more weight than the actual food that you eat. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because what often happens is we have this all or nothing thinking that like consumes our mind, right?
Yeah.
So if I ate a slice of pizza, then I have to go all out and I have to eat all the pizza, all the junk food, blah, 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 versus I can just have a slice and like, okay.
Yeah.
And then if my nutrition coaching, the two baseline things that we practice, like 1 and 2, are eating slowly and mindfully, and then eating to 80% full. And that is something that they're meant to come back to over and over and over again. So when you are on vacation, when you are getting really busy, you have a lot of life happening at once, when you didn't have enough time to cook and you have to go through the fast food drive-through, whatever it is, if you can eat slowly and mindfully and stop when you're 80% full, you will stay on track. You will stay successful. And your next meal, when you have the opportunity to like add more veggies or do something like a better meal, that's when you do that. And still practice mindful eating and still practice 80% full.
Yeah. So there you go. There's no excuse. I mean, again, that's definitely a nice tactic and technique for you to do. And I didn't, I never thought about that. Again, if you're eating mindfully and taking your time, and I'm a very, I guess, not a victim. I'm a part of this, I guess. I forget what the word is. Anyways, when I used to work for a company, I would always be in the go all the time, and I would go to the fast food place, get to my office and eat it as quickly as I can. And so I can see where that, because I remember even those years, like I look at some pictures, I'm like, man, I was like freaking fat. Like it was just eating, it was just eating bad, right? A lot of it had to do with that, always going out, getting something, eating it so fast, and not really thinking about taking my time, really, like you said, being mindful about it. So
yeah, I'd just like to say too, if you think about that time in your life, right, that wasn't the only thing you were doing on the go. That wasn't the only place where you felt like you had to rush, because it's more than fitness. It's more than nutrition. What we do in one area is what we do in every area. And so if we're spinning out of control, or so it feels like in our nutrition or in our exercise, more than likely we're spinning out of control in all the other areas. And that doesn't feel joyful. It doesn't feel like a fulfilled life, or like fulfilling. So and sometimes when we start in one area, be it nutrition or exercise or mindset, all of the other pieces again start to follow. So that's, No,
I do see that. Definitely. I do see that. And so then at which point now you have your own business, you founded your own company. So you decided to go into, being your own boss, being an entrepreneur. How did that play out? What was going through your mind? How come the working for the fitness company didn't work out for you?
Yeah. Ooh, okay. I think that a part of me, I know there's a part of me that was always meant to be an entrepreneur. When I was young, walking the streets of Brooklyn, I would see a vacant retail spot and I'd be like, that should be a hookah lounge. I want to open a bar over there. This could be this kind of store. I'm like 12 or 15, no idea what I'm talking about, but I had those little
butterflies or something. Yeah.
I was at a fitness conference once, a fitness business conference, and I had the guy on stage said he called them whispers. And I was like, yes, you get me. Like I had the whispers. And so when I was working for the kickboxing studio, I was there for a little bit over a year, and I decided, I'm going to open one of these. This is the thing I'm going to open. I'm going to be a franchise owner. It's going to be fantastic. And then I realized that the fitness industry was more than kickboxing. It was more than what I was in my little bubble. So then I went off to corporate fitness to, learn. So I became a trainer, and, it's a lot of sales.
Okay.
It's a lot of number pushing. It's corporate, right? It is what it is. Like a business has to make money. You have to sell in order to continue helping people. And even still, like owning my own business, if I don't sell you a training package, then I can't help you, right? So I grasped that. And it was less about, in the corporate world, it was less about me helping people and more about how much I could sell.
Right.
And it didn't matter to them that my schedule was overbooked, that I was working 7 days a week. It didn't matter. They were telling me that I shouldn't, because technically it's illegal to make someone work 7 days a week. And I'm like, but I don't have any more places to fit people. And which was kind of cool. Like more people kept wanting to come. So I'm like, okay, I want to help all the people. Like I didn't have to say no, right? It was very overwhelming. And then beyond that, of course, I was bringing home about half of what I was selling and doing. And so I was exerting all of this energy and effort, and it didn't feel rewarding in the way that I think that it does now, in the way that I thought that it should.
Right.
And I want to say that was the biggest piece. And then beyond that, I have this vision of this total body, total soul and mind combination. And I had all these ideas for, I want to run this boot camp. I want to run this program. This sounds like it would be amazing. And they just were like, can you just calm down?
Just,
Like,
yeah, just stick to your stuff. Don't give me ideas kind of thing. Yeah, right.
These are great ideas. And then I will also say this, because I think it's very important, and it is a big, big part of my story. I struggled a lot with my colleagues.
Okay.
I wasn't the most, I don't know if it was liked or whatever, but I was very isolated. I felt like for a lot of different reasons, I think. But I will also say that I came in like super green, right? I was fresh off of my I was hired without my certification, and I had 30 days to finish it. Like I was studying, my exam was scheduled. So I was super fresh, super green, but I have this really vibrant personality and I love people. So I go and I say hello and I make lots of friends. And so while I was learning, I built my business, right? And I grew like I had mentioned, like you had mentioned in my bio, I grew pretty successfully. I was successful pretty quickly is what I was trying to say. And a lot of people weren't happy with that. A lot of people were like, oh, it's because of this. It's because she's pretty. It's because she blah, 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 whatever. Lots of talking.
Right.
And it, as much as one could try to let it roll off your shoulder, or as much as I knew this is not about me and my ability, this is about them and their issue with me and my ability, it still hurt a lot. It still sucked. I went to work, I would cry in the bathroom sometimes. I would dread going to work, and for months on end, I would go to work, just put my head down, go to the meetings that I needed to go to, and just run to my clients. I was booked solid for like 6 sessions in a row. So it was easy to ignore the people around me, but it still sucked.
Yeah.
It was time for me to just go.
Yeah. And so that's where the idea of you becoming your own boss, or, your own business, grew, right?
Yeah.
And I like what you mentioned. Like for me too, like, and a lot of people that I talk to, sometimes it comes back to more of, how you can help more people and how you can really empower more people in different aspects, right? You're empowering people by teaching them techniques on how to take care of their body, not just physically, but also mentally, like, putting those things into perspective. And so I think that, to me, and that seems to be more of the norm nowadays. A lot of people want to get into that. To me, that's important. One thing that Les Brown talks about, and he said, if your life, no, I think it was actually Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn talks about make sure that you work harder on yourself than you do on anybody else, right? And so it goes back to that. You were working really hard for somebody else, and you were not getting anything really in return, like not something that was very fulfilling. And so now it's like, let me start working harder for myself, because that's going to give me what I want ultimately in life and help other people down the line, right? And so, I appreciate that from you. That's pretty awesome, because a lot of people need to, people that are listening to us or hearing us, they need to hear this, because I know that a lot of people, or many people, want to be able to get into that journey of being an entrepreneur, want to get into the journey of, creating something for themselves, right? So with that, what would be your advice to people that are listening? Like, if you have something that is outside of your normal business, work, and you want to do your own thing, what would you advise them on how to, take that leap?
Ooh, on how to take that leap. I don't know if I'm the best person to give that advice. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm not afraid to be uncomfortable. So I don't know. So basically, when I left the kickboxing gym, because again, I was having issues with like just working for somebody, and it wasn't working for me anymore. And I left without a job lined up. So for 1 full month, I had zero income, and it was insane. I didn't know what I was going to do. Not that I was making much money before that. And then when I left the other corporate gym, I want to say, it took me 6 to 7 months to really start generating an income. And I had some sense of belief that I'd be able to make it. Like, I'm like, I got this. I can do this. I learned a lot. But also I knew that it wasn't going to happen so quickly as I would have loved it to. And so I had to know and be aware and ready for the struggle of maybe not having food to eat all the time. The struggle of wondering where I was going to pay, like where the money was going to come for my bills. The idea that at 30 years old, I was going to have to call my mom and say, hey, I need help. And so I think the biggest thing is you need to be ready for what might come in the interim, and know that it's worth it because you will fulfill a dream. Know that your vision is powerful and it's great. And if you put in the effort to feed your vision and feed yourself with positivity and like trust and nurture yourself, right? And it's not just, oh, I'm going to be awesome because I think I'm going to be awesome. No, like I worked for this, right? I have education, I have experience, I continue my education. I have like, I had 5 courses in the last 6 months. I have 2 of them still to go. Like I'm constantly working on my craft so I could be this entrepreneur that, you know, can rise above, right? That can be competitive in our crazy industry, particularly fitness. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
yeah, you did, and you actually you mentioned 3 things that are very critical. So if the people missed it, let me just kind of go back on that. Number 1, right? The first thing you said, you're okay being uncomfortable. Okay, that's critical. That's huge, and I'm gonna tell you why. I feel that that's huge because a lot of people are so fearful of being uncomfortable that they let that opportunity slip away, right? You have to be able, so if you want to be successful, you want to be able to take your life to the next level, you have to understand that you're going to have to be uncomfortable to be comfortable down the line, right? If that makes sense. Yeah. And so you did that yourself, which is, again, it's awesome. You have to be able to accept that. The second thing you mentioned is you deep down inside knew that and had faith and you had this feeling that you were going to make it. How? It was not really that how it was not as important as knowing, right? Yeah. And so again, that's also another thing that you have to understand, that once you believe in something so much and you have that feeling, that how will come is more of having that feeling, and you had that. The last one is acceptance, right? You accepted the fact that you might have to go through some struggles. You accepted the fact that this is not get rich overnight. You accepted the fact that you might have to, not even a couple of days here and there, and not because you want to do that. You just accept the fact that that can happen. When you take into your life the acceptance that something might happen to you and you deal with what emerges, guess what? Things are going to start flowing. And so you obviously you did that. And the last thing you mentioned, or actually 4 things, is education, right? And so I want to touch on that for a second. Is that education, even myself, I think that, and a lot of people that are entrepreneurs, you got to continue to keep working on yourself, right? I do a lot of self-development. I keep working on myself on that. I'm a NLP practitioner, so I get study on that too. And the fact that I'm a real estate investor, so I'm always learning something. And a lot of times it's the non-traditional education, at least for me, where you're learning from mentors, you're learning from other people, you're learning from books. As a matter of fact, reading books, you can learn a lot. That's education too. You're educating yourself, right? So with that, for you, in terms of education, what kind of education are you taking? Is it traditional, non-traditional? What is your education like?
Lately, it has been a lot of books, a lot of podcasts, a lot of like just certification type workshops. So for example, at the end of this month, I'm going to go to a stick mobility workshop. Any fitness professional listening, find that workshop for yourself. It's just awesome. Like whatever. I don't want to go into all the it's an amazing mobility sort of tool. And so things like that. So it's a 2-day workshop. I get the tools, I get the learning, I get the mentorship, right? I get the additional like extra stuff for beyond. So like, how do I work on this mobility thing with this new tool? So I do a lot of workshops, like where I'm present physically, because I learn very hands-on. And then other stuff is just like some one-off things. It's like a 2-hour little video on the lymphatic system because I'm curious to learn about that and how that impacts my clients with their, inflammation and things like that. But it is very non-traditional lately. I haven't gone to school since I left grad school, and that was 2017. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So I have one last question for you. And if you were to give any advice, right? Any advice to tell our listeners and viewers that they can overcome anything in their life, what would that be?
That's a really good question. I don't know if I was prepared for that. I would like to just say, I will never know everyone who listens to this, but I will tell you that I know that they are amazing and I know that they are phenomenal, because each of us have the potential and the capacity and the ability to overcome anything. And if you think about your life and everything you have experienced, if you're still here, you have overcome everything. And if you have been able to overcome everything in life, you are resilient and you are phenomenal. Even if right now you are depressed, even if right now you are not happy with where you are in life, you have still made it through. So you are fully capable of pushing that next step, taking the next step, pushing forward just a little bit more day by day to continue to overcome wherever it is you're at, whatever it is you're dealing with. Like, I just have a knowing that all humans have, how about this? Most humans, I don't want to super generalize, just they are amazing truly on the inside, and they're just capable. We just are.
Yeah. And, you know, with that too, I mean, and that's awesome. It's amazing. I love that. You know, I never heard anybody put it that way. And it really makes sense. And, you know, one thing that comes to mind is I feel that if you are still breathing, if you woke up this morning, it's a blessing. And, you know, whatever people believe in, you know, universe, energy, God, whatever the case may be, the fact that you're still here, you know, your time in this journey, in this life is not done. There's still things for you to do, and you can still do them. You just got to make sure that you continue to push forward and just take one step at a time. And so, you know, yeah. So anyways, that's amazing.
Yeah. If I could just sort of maybe add or like say one extra thing, I think that the key to life, right? The key to life, joy, happiness, all of the things is gratitude. And I will forever like promote a gratitude practice. That is one of the things that I also was doing and continue to do, is every day I think about at least 3 things that I'm grateful for. There are times when I journal and I write things down. There are other times where it's in my mind, but I have a constant gratitude practice, because like you said, every time when you wake up, it's a blessing. It is a gift. And so even if you wake up every single morning and express gratitude for waking up, for having eyes that have opened, for having ears that can hear. If you don't have eyes that can open and see, maybe you have a nose that can smell, you have a mouth that can speak, you have hands, whatever it is in your life that you have, find the gratitude in it. And I promise more things will come to you that you will create an abundance of things to be grateful for. And that is how we overcome things, because you are constantly in this state of searching for goodness.
Right.
And it just comes to you. You see it, you can't help it.
Right. Yeah. And right. No, that's awesome. And you know, again, I think part of that is, you know, we always tend to play the victim. And so, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, people go through tough times. I mean, we all do. And so it's, you know, what do you do about those tough times, and be grateful. I like that. I myself do that. Every morning before, when I wake up, the first thing I do is I give thanks. And before I go to sleep, I do the same thing. So I do that twice a day, just because I want to be grateful for whatever I had today and whatever I'm going to have coming to me today, you know? So awesome. Milana, let me ask you this. Where can people find you if they want to get in contact with you, if they want to, you know, maybe possibly work with you? How can people find you?
So my website is morethanfitnesspt.com. And then you can also find me on Instagram. So my Instagram is also More Than Fitness, but there's like some underscores and periods. So you can find that through my website as well. And then on my Facebook page, I post a lot of valuable content and things like that. All over in those places. But I want to say you can find me at morethanfitnesspt.com. And then from there,
awesome.
Come be my friend on Facebook.
Yeah. And don't worry, guys. I'm going to have this information on the comments below, so you guys don't have to go search them. You'll have them right here in this interview. So Milana, any last words that you might have before I let you go?
No, I just want to say thank you. This was so amazing. And I'm super grateful, and I'm really appreciative that you had me on here. This was so much fun. Thank you. So
thank you so much, Milana. And for the rest of you guys, thank you so much for listening. Please make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, find us on Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, all over the place. And make sure you come comment below on this podcast show, and stay tuned for the next interviews coming up in the next couple of weeks. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you tuned in to this podcast. You can find me at Spreaker.com, where you can like and subscribe. And to learn more about myself and my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at Facebook under Cesar R Espino. Once again, thanks for joining me. I am looking forward to having you at the next episode, and know that you truly can overcome anything.